Now I know absolutely nothing about fashion, but I was just thinking about this category and I was thinking, why don't they have a segment in the Oscars that's like a fashion show that shows all the costumes from the movies that came out from the previous year? I mean, wouldn't that make the Oscars a bit more interesting? I mean, that's all we really want nowadays. If anyone from the Academy is watching this, please, 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 don't make it boring. Alright, so welcome to part 3 of this year's Oscar coverage. Now we're talking about costume design. Now, in terms of my criteria for this category, again, like the previous two categories, we have aesthetic appeal, how good the costumes look and relevance to the story, or the characters, like hopefully these costume designers can make costumes that become extensions of the characters who are wearing them. But I'm putting up a third special kind of criteria for this personally. I think, and that'd be adherence to settings. So, like, if it's a period piece, these costumes have to match that era, so on and so forth. Right, so our nominees for Best Costume Design are American Hustle, Michael Wilkinson; The Grandmaster, William Chang Suk Ping; The Great Gatsby, Catherine Martin; The Invisible Woman, Michael O'Connor; and 12 Years a Slave, Patricia Norris. Okay, to be honest, I did not watch The Invisible Woman. That's the only nominee among these five that I didn't get to watch, so I won't be able to rank it, so I'll be leaving it out. I can't talk about that movie. I don't know anything about it. So I will be ranking the other four from fourth place to first place of who I think should win the Oscar, and then at the end I will be making a prediction for who will win the Oscar. And this is a nice list this year. I mean, you've got a really nice variation of eras and stuff and period pieces, but there's nothing that really stands out. But anyway, I'll be ranking them now. Fourth place, I guess, will go to The Grandmaster. And for those who don't know, The Grandmaster was this martial arts film from Wong Kar-wai that was really interesting in terms of costumes because of how everything seemed so sleek, because their costumes were like half uniform, half fight suit. Like the costumes were always, battle ready. Like people would be talking in one scene and suddenly fighting in the next, and same costumes, and that's pretty interesting function for them. And of course, it fits the setting very well. This Chinese era, and it matches the cinematography as well. It's very nice to look at. It seems very picturesque. However, this ends up at fourth place because I really don't think that the costumes here were meant to stand out, especially compared to other martial arts films I've seen, wherein the costumes are a bit more grand, they're more tattered and stuff. Here, it really is very clean. The focus is on the fighting and the setting and stuff, not necessarily the costumes. So, after watching the movie, I didn't really think about the costumes that much. So, yeah, it does end up at number four. Now, at number three, I will put The Great Gatsby. Now, as much as I'm not a huge fan of this movie, as much as there's so much excessiveness to this movie, and I think Baz Luhrmann really just overstepped the boundary here. But I will admit that the costumes were good. They did reflect this extravagant lifestyle. However, it doesn't really feel very 20s. I mean, I don't know, I didn't live in the 20s, but stuff here, maybe it's just the choice of music and, just the production design overall, but it didn't feel like I was in the 20s. It felt like I was at Beverly Hills and everything was just wow, extravagance. This is unique though in the sense that the setting kind of combines with the costume, so it kind of just feels like one thing. And this can be both good and bad, I think. Good in the sense that there's a lot of cohesiveness in terms of like the overall production design, but it can still be bad because of the costumes just kind of disappear into the background at a certain point. Like there's just so much on screen all the time that at a certain point you kind of stop noticing it. I will still admit that there was effort put into these costumes and stuff, and as excessive as Baz Luhrmann's directing is, it does look good, I will admit. Now, at second place will be 12 Years a Slave. Now, this is very subtle production design, costume design, but at the same time it feels very real. It really did feel like they got these costumes straight out of a slavery museum or something. And among all the nominees, this is the only movie here that really wasn't afraid to get the costumes dirty. And, like, everything here was just so like the realness and the rawness of this movie just made everything feel so filthy, and you felt filthy watching it. 12 Years a Slave has great production values all across the board. Like, you really get a sense of kind of like hierarchy in this movie. Like, the costumes that Michael Fassbender and Benedict Cumberbatch's characters wear really do feel, cleaner and stuff than the costumes that Chiwetel Ejiofor and the other slaves wore. And it is pretty much like a history lesson, but at the same time, with all this good production value, I feel like these costumes exist to serve the story, not necessarily to shine a spotlight on itself. So because of that, I can't really get it up the first place, although it is still extremely well done, super detailed, and props to them. However, for first place, I'm going to have to put American Hustle, and this is like the complete opposite of 12 Years a Slave. There's nothing subtle about this. Like the costumes here really, really take center stage at certain points. But I am impressed because these costumes really do bring out these characters and really say something about them being con artists. Like at a certain point, you realize that these costumes look really, really not really fake, but they feel like someone putting on a suit to impress people, and that's really what these characters are. They're con artists. They're putting on stuff to put on a show, and I like how the costumes really reflected that. One thing that helps American Hustle is that there's so much variety in this movie in terms of costumes and all of them really fit the era, especially Amy Adams, who has, like I said in my review for American Hustle, she has really attractive outfits here, and all of them are reflective of the era, reflective of her character, and everyone really in this movie really just has lots of nice things to wear. Like The Great Gatsby, the costumes in American Hustle reflect the extravagant lifestyle, but at the same time, like I said a while ago, it really like rides that line, and at the same time, while making them look extravagant, it makes them look fake at the same time. That's a really nice achievement, I thought the costume designers got. So good job. They're my pick, though, for who should win. In terms of who I think will win, again, I will have to give it to American Hustle. These past three categories, I think what I think should win really does line up with who I think will win. I'm not, planning this out. Yeah, I really can't say anything again about The Invisible Woman. It could be first place material for all I know, but, you know, The Great Gatsby is not going to win because, again, it was a critical failure. The Grandmaster, I don't think is going to win because I don't think people really watched it. 12 Years a Slave could edge out American Hustle, though, but again, like I said a while ago, that movie isn't really focused on its costumes, and American Hustle has like its use of costumes is more blatant, it's more explicit. So I really think that's gonna take it home. All right, so what did you guys think of this year's nominees for best costume design? Do any of you want to take any of those costumes home? Because I might want to. Anyway, if you agree with my opinion, if you disagree, whatever you think, please leave a comment and let's have a conversation.